All right, if I could go back and draw up a perfect day when I started as an SDR 6 years ago, this was it. Today I'm going to cover the daily schedule I followed and adhered to as an SDR that worked very well for me because it gave me a consistent structure and consistency that I could expect each day and optimize and get better within. So in this video, I'm going to break down the key time blocks of the day that I focused on and what activity that I made sure I got done during that time block. So let's get into it. All right, first, I'll point out that I don't account for literally every single minute of a typical 8 to 5 day. That's because I never found that I could. I found that to be counterproductive. So I'm more focused on what are the main activities that I want to get done that are going to help me achieve my KPIs and blocking off enough time to do that. So for me, the first activity I did every day was rip emails. You'll notice it's not cold calling. There's a lot of people you'll see out there saying that cold calling first thing in the morning is the best thing to do. I'm not disputing that. It probably is the best time of day to cold call. I also found it's the best time of day to cold email. I just wanted to get my day started, and personally, I always struggle getting myself to cold call at the start of the day. There's no hard and fast rules. If you're currently cold calling to start the day, don't let me stop you. You should probably keep doing that. I'm just saying this is what I did. I focused on sending out emails. And the other thing you'll notice is that I don't mention building lists or pulling contacts. It is only emailing. And that's because I've done the work up front. If you've seen my other videos, I talk about coiling the spring, where for a few days to start every quarter, I focus on building as many lists as possible and building associated templates that target each of those lists, so that when I sit down, I don't have to come up with what to do that day or what lists I'm going to email or contact and come up with what email I'm going to send them. I pick the list that I've already planned, I find the associated template, and I go boom, boom, boom. And for me, I was able to usually send 100 to 150 pretty targeted emails, not through automation. I'm not an email automation guy. I would just sit down. This is how I got my day started. I'd drink my coffee, the blood would start flowing, and that's going to take us to the next part of the day. So here we jump from 9:30 to 10:30. Maybe you had some meetings that hour in between, or maybe you're just prepping, but here is where I start ripping dials now. And again, none of this time is spent building lists. I already know who I'm going to call because I pre-planned this in advance. And normally this took me right until lunch. And often if I was on a roll, I would just go through lunch. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm doing well cold calling, I just want to keep doing it. The times where I stopped at lunch were normally when I ripped dials and got like no lives or just got pushed off the phone a bunch of times. Then I'm like, okay, I'm done with this for now. Let's go take lunch. But if I'm doing well, I would pretty much keep doing this until I stopped doing well. The other thing I'll note is that I operate in Eastern time, and the people I prospected into were located all over the country. This may not be the case for you, but this was a little trick I did. During this call block, I would typically call people on the West Coast or in Mountain Time, people who were 2 or 3 hours behind me, because I was getting that early morning cold call effect in those cases. But then we take lunch, maybe you have a meeting or two in between, and now we get to 2 to 3. And this is where I do my planning for the next day. So I know I talk about coiling the spring, but that doesn't mean I plan out how every single day is gonna go for the whole quarter. I just give myself the resources I need. So I build out those lists to start, I build out the associated templates, but based on how I'm performing and who I'm targeting and where I see opportunities, I'll plan each day accordingly. But I normally took an hour each day, call it 2 to 3 p.m. It wasn't always hard and fast for 1 hour. Sometimes it was maybe more, sometimes it was less, but I would plan who I was going to email that next day, like what lists I was going to contact, get those templates ready, maybe see if I could make them a little more targeted and improve on them a little bit. And same thing for dials. I would plan out who I'm going to call and get those scripts ready so that I could hit the ground running the next day. That's typically what I did in the middle of the day, and maybe we had some other meetings. Hopefully I had set up some meetings from the emails and cold calls I had made the prior week, so that kept me busy in the afternoon. And then we get to the end of the day, which again, I used to rip more dials. I think the end of the day is a pretty good time to cold call, just like a lot of people think the beginning of the day is. A lot of people are wrapping up their day, they're not busy. And again, I took time zones into account here. I often called my East Coast accounts during this time block because it was the end of the day for them. So throughout the day, I spent an hour and a half or so emailing, usually 100 to 150 emails. That's a very good number. And then I spent a total of about 2.5 hours of cold calling. You can often get 80 to 100 dials pretty easily. That counts calls that go straight to voicemail, but you can call 80 to 100 unique contacts if you're actually focused, head down, dialed in, making cold calls for 2.5 hours a day. And again, I varied from this day to day. Some days my schedule was just packed. Maybe I had a bunch of internal meetings or had to take a bunch of calls that I had booked with my account executive, but 70–80% of days went like this, and when I had nothing to do, it certainly went like this. And then if you really want to maximize your results as an SDR, after 5 p.m., so I drove home at that point. I used to work in the office 5 days a week, so it would take me about 6:30 to get home, shower, maybe I'm watching TV. I would just casually fire off LinkedIn messages. I didn't take it too seriously. It was just an additional way to get some extra shots on net, because I found that people were more receptive to LinkedIn messages after work hours than cold emails. I don't know, it's just an observation I made. I have no data to back that up. But if on average you can send, call it 30 LinkedIn messages in a day, there's 5 work days a week, 4 weeks, so that's 20 work days a month, 30 times 20, that's 600 LinkedIn messages. Let's say you have a 1% success rate. It should probably be higher than that. That's 6 extra meetings a month that you otherwise wouldn't have generated if you just didn't do that after hours. This is optional, but if you really want to maximize your results, it's an extra way to get shots on net. And think about what 6 meetings can do for you. That can generate a lot of extra pipeline and be a real difference maker. And what you'll find when you do this consistently and follow this structure is that when you start your next day and fire up your laptop, because you were so consistent with your emails and your follow-ups, you'll often have people who responded to you the day before, maybe it was after hours, and you wake up and you have meetings in your inbox. And this is what starts to make the SDR job feel like a game, when you have this consistent structure that you can follow and meetings start to trickle in like autopilot. So hope this helped. Hope it gives you some ideas on how to structure your day. If it did, hit the like button, and I'll see you on the next one.